and welcome to a new episode of Is That an Owl Bear, a D&D podcast. I am one half of your hosting team. I am Cristina Contreras, and I'm accompanied today by the one and only...
BM Joe, 1/3 of your hosting group here.
Who's the third, Joe?
The voice
Who's the
in my
third?
head.
Oh, no. And so here we go. That's how we start. Wonderful. All right. So if you've never heard this podcast before, here's everything you need to know. Joe and I have been friends for the longest of times, and we love tabletop role-playing games. He is a very well-versed dungeon master, game master, storyteller, and I cannot remember the rules of anything, but I have a lot of excitement to play. So here we are on our second episode of the classes that we can find in D&D. If you have not checked the first half and you want to listen to the entire list of classes, please go ahead and check our previous episode. Let's get started.
Shall we?
He keeps pointing at places like I know how to put the link on the camera. No, just go to the previous episode.
It
just
can
go
be
to the
not
one
on the
before.
camera, not on the camera. It
On
could
the
be
video.
on the bottom, on the doobly-doo.
On the doobly-doo, sure. Yes, but all you need to know is that's the one before this. So let's go.
Correct. Let's go. And we're picking up directly at, we had talked about 1 through 8 earlier, and now we're going to pick up at number 7, which is our first...
12 through 8, right? 13 through 8. How many are they? Okay, 13. Yeah, okay, cool.
What did I say?
1.
Math. Cool. That's great. I'm clearly on the top of my head. Okay, so this one, this one actually is one of those classic classes that has been around since the beginning. Fighter rounds up our number 7 spot directly. Right. And we quite enjoy what it does, specifically because it has a great balance in on itself. You get your heavy armor, you get multiple attacks as you get stronger, so you start soaking damage and you start dealing damage, and it's a respectable damage. You're not the strongest, but because a proper fighter can have a round with 4 or 5 attacks, you end up doing considerable damage. With a second wind and other options, or no, sorry, not second wind. Second wind gives you a little bit of life back. Extra attack and additional abilities that just lets you roll to hit again, roll more damage, and you're that guy that just swings his sword or his scimitar just back and forth. it's good. You know, it's a fighter's turn. It's good for offensive. Okay. You know, it's a fighter's turn when all the other players just kind of go like, okay, I'll be back. And they kind of check out for a bit there. Because it's just like, okay, in my first attack... the fighter
just keeps on going and rolling and going and rolling.
It starts with that. It's like, in my first attack, I don't know, second attack, third attack, extra action, bonus action, because I'm dual wielding. Like, you end up racking in a good amount of damage. And the thing I like also, that I mentioned also with the Barbarian, is it's easy for new players because you're just what you're keeping track of is how many attacks you're doing. And if you're playing with any D&D Beyond specifically, which is I think the most common and useful one, when you look at your available actions, it says 3 attacks. Like, it's very visually, you have to track very little and read very little. So it's one of the things you would be very good at.
Have I played a fighter? I think I have.
I think you have.
I think I have, because you know the aversion I have with magic. Not in my real life. Magic is everywhere. Just in game, because I cannot keep track of stuff. I just cannot be bothered to pretend that I'm going to be doing homework while I am trying to enjoy myself.
Correct.
Because that's just my truth. So fighter and barbarian, I honestly, soft spot right here.
Like, I think you would have more fun, you, Cristina, that I know, you would have more fun with a magic user because it's kind of what you want to do, but because you're, I'm not going to say lazy, I'm going to say you just don't want to do the homework, which is valid.
I am reading impaired.
Just whoop.
Yep.
She reads and there's no retention.
At all. It's genuinely just like glossing my eyes over the letters. I can decipher what it says. Do I want to? And because of that, I know that I would not do a magical character justice. But that being said, I have also been hiding behind this for a very long time. So sure, the next time that we have the chance to play, I will try and get myself out of my comfort zone and play a magic wielding character. Why the hell not?
You can try also, to keep it easy, is like a dual class, or for example, what I recommend for newer players is play a rogue, which is simple-ish, but then subclass into arcane trickster specifically, because then you get some magic.
Okay, no, I see what you're saying, but wait, let's get back to the fighter real quick, because I tend to do this. I tend to start new topics before we are done with the one at hand. So with fighters, now would you say, well, fighters are obviously the better for offense, along with barbarians, because barbarians are your basic tank, right?
Yep.
Would if there is not a barbarian, would you say that fighter would be the better option for a tank? Or after barbarian, what would be? Oh, okay.
I find paladins to be a little bit better tanky because they come with healing abilities. So as you're taking that damage, you can take bonus actions or your own actions rather than to deal damage, to just give yourself some life back and keep on taking damage. The fighter's main drawback, I would say,
drawback. Okay.
Because it's not even a drawback though. It's just the main thing that holds it back from being one of the better tankier people is you don't have a way to regenerate life. Second wind is a one-use ability. It's very short.
Per session or per like fight?
Per rest.
Okay.
So if you're not aware, in case you're like new to D&D in general, you regain some abilities with a short rest, and you gain some other abilities with a long rest. A short rest lasts up to an hour, and a long rest is 8 hours. So
like a little nappy nap versus an overnight sleep. Okay.
Correct. And the way it's role played is, you're bandaging your wounds, maybe you're sitting down having some food, you're catching a breath, man, you're in the middle of a dungeon, things are going crazy. After you kill that beholder, you're like,
that's fair.
I need a minute.
That was a lot. That was a lot.
They shot a paralyzing ray at me. I turned to stone, and now, sorry, a petrifying ray at me, and now I turned to stone. So now that I'm back, I want to embrace my life.
I'm just trying to take a moment to regain my bearings and completely put away all of the memories that I just acquired and never think about them ever again. So can I just please have these 30 minutes?
Yeah, that's a good moment to have a little role playing with your party and kind of like unpack the shit that you're going through. And because let's be honest, I mean, in my last session, so I've had 3 sessions in this weekend. On Friday, they went in through some caves, fought some basilisks. On Saturday, their city is under siege by an army of were people. And on just today, they went into an underwater statue head that was filled with ghasts. So they're all like, I need a minute. And as soon as they got to the statue head and they were like trying to like walk on it because it's kind of partially submerged, one of the ghasts ran on top of the ice and it shot a beam of acid out, and they were all like, that's a lot. That's a lot. So yeah, that's when you take a moment.
I just want to own a tavern. I just want to own a tavern and have only tea service.
Yeah.
With like the little sandwiches and the little pastries, and just have people come over, and I'll be your barmaid. I'll be your tea room maid. Let me make you feel better because yes,
Just,
exactly.
it's like the adventurers come in and you're like, here's some tea and some CBD. Do you want a biscuit? Yeah. And they're all just like pale, big eyed. They're just
crying.
I saw my childhood friend get eaten by a dragon. And you're like, So is that a
Honey?
little bit of honey? Yeah.
The connection.
The
All right.
connection indeed.
Okay. So what options do fighters have as far as like, because you can have like up close fighters and you can have range fighters, correct? Or would that be technically, that's actually what I wanted to ask. Would fighters have the option to have range weapons, or is that something that is uncommon for the class?
All fighters start, or most classes start with, or most characters start with weapons that you can throw, and everybody can throw a weapon. Like, it's not like if you're in a battle, you can grab a knife and throw it and hope it hits. And the thing with fighters directly is you can specifically get different types of fighting. It's called fighting styles, and you can focus on, like, you say, I have fighting style archery, for example, because you want to be a bowman. So that means whenever you do any archery attack, you add a +2 as a to bonus to your attack. And there's different types. Like, you can have one that has defense, which gives you more AC. Great weapon fighting, it lets you, if you're using a melee weapon, within with 2 hands, you can reroll 1 or 2. It depends on what type of weapons you want to use. So it is very versatile in what you can do, and you just have to pick the correct technique that you want to use.
All right. Okay. Well, that does make a little sense. What would be the next one? What's the next class that we have on the list? Or is there anything else about fighters that you want to address?
No, that's good. Following the fighters, in the 6th position, we have sorcerers.
Ooh.
Which, we're running up to our top 5. This one just barely makes the list, riding on number 6. Innate spellcasters, magic comes from within. They don't have to study it. In general, this class it feels very like you have options because you have sorcery points, which no other class has, which basically lets you do different things, like a twin spell or fast casting, just different abilities.
What is a twin spell?
You cast the same spell twice at the same time.
Okay.
So you can do firebolt, not fireball, firebolt, and you consume a sorcery point to do that. And some of the other and it just gives you different abilities that you can use, rather than just be like, I know this spell from this book. It gives you a little bit of different abilities. Like, I'm just gonna give you some other examples of what a sorcerer can do that a wizard can't. Is they can use a sorcery point to do a distance spell, which makes you have a greater range. They can empower a spell, which makes you do more damage when using your spell. Quicken spell, it makes it go faster, meaning that rather than it take your action, you use your bonus action to cast it. So they basically let you, the way you're casting it, a little modify a little bit, and those sorcery points are regained when you rest. So you have your regular spell slots, the
long rest.
Yes.
So
you have your regular spells that you can use, and then you also have your little amount of sorcery points that you can then use to enhance your spells, which is what really puts it apart from the other casters.
Right. And again, just real quick to have a quick recap of the spellcast of the magic wielding classes. So far, we've seen warlock. I can't say words. Warlock. Now the sorcerer, and we still have to catch on the wizard, right?
Correct. That is
those
correct.
are the top 3.
The 3 arcane casters. They use arcane magic.
All right.
Then you have like paladins cast divine spells.
Rogues as well.
Druids cast divine spells as well. There's a lot of spell casters, but their magic spell pools are different depending on their race. Class.
Right.
Sorry.
Class. Noted. All right.
Sorry.
And I'm sorry, you were gonna say something else.
I feel
or not.
Mhm.
Or not. Noted.
Blanked.
Okay.
It blanked.
All right. So for, again, another recap, honestly, it's for my own benefit, because I tend to forget and I am not as versed in this as I would like to be. Warlocks get their magic through a divine being, or not divine
Or
being,
demonic.
but through a
patron.
through a patron. Sorcerers are innate magic wielders, and
Yes.
wizards study magic.
Yes, correct.
All right. Yeah, word.
I can die happy now, guys. She learned. Remember back a couple of episodes, I asked her, and she was like,
Magician.
Mage is a type of magic user. And I was like, okay.
Yes. I mean, I'm not wrong. I am not mistaken. I said no lies detected.
Honestly, no. But yeah. So sorcerers rank up at number 6. The best use of a sorcerer for me is to dual to take it up to as a secondary class. Dual class it with something else, because their spell list is a little bit
what
more
would be
limited.
the examples?
Depends on what you want to play though, because if I we can't rank your dual class type of, because if you want to do
Okay, wait. So let me ask you this. Yes. Sorry to interrupt, but since sorcerers are innate magic wielders, let's say I was blessed with the magics, and then I'm like, no, fuck this, I want to be a barbarian. Then I'm a barbarian sorcerer because I can still do shit. Ooh, yes. Look at me. All right.
But you can do that with any class, any combo. If you wanted to be, for whatever reason, and be like, I want to be a warlock wizard, I mean, you can.
So, but okay, so with any class, you can dual class with any class, or you can dual class with, when it comes to a magic wielding class.
In 5e, you can dual class with any class.
Okay.
So you can be a rogue barbarian in that case.
Oh, okay.
You can.
Okay, I like that.
Even one of the how do I say this? One of the more gamey, bulletproof dual classes, paladin barbarian, which on paper as a DM it sounds bonkers, because paladins are all about keeping an oath and rules and like, but then barbarians are all about smashing shit up with their sword, and they're like, I destroy. So I see a lot of contradicting on paper, but if you put in the backstory, you can. I don't see why not. I just, for me as a DM, if you're gonna power metagame that, because it's a very strong combination, I would need a little bit of backstory as to why are you a barbarian paladin. It doesn't just
like for example, to put an example, Vox Machina, right? So for those who do not know what Vox Machina is, it's the Amazon Prime animated series based on Critical Role.
Yes.
So let's say that Grog, right, our amazing barbarian whose bestie, whose buddies is, what's her name?
Pike Trickfoot.
Pike, thank you, Pike. So Pike is a paladin, right?
I think she's a cleric.
Yes, I'm so sorry. Yes, she is a cleric. But because of the relationship that they two have, in a potential storyline, given how things happen, and because of how strong the bond between Pike and Grog is, could it be justified if Grog were to be like, let me follow this light lady that you follow, and become,
I don't see why not,
and become a paladin for Pike?
I could see that makes that storyline in itself makes all the sense, because they're so close that eventually, the more you hang out with people, your views also start matching, and you start learning what they know, and that's just general like human relationships. So I can definitely see that being something that makes sense. I do want to put in the caveat words. I want to the caveat. This is me. I'm the one that requires that little background connection for some dual classing,
For it to make
because even
sense.
though I'm very gamey, like I tell my players up front, we're playing a game. Like, let's just calm down. There are some things that I will be like, you don't just learn to be a paladin by waking up one day. But it's very little though. Very little things. I include that caveat because
All right.
for me in general, we're playing a game is a perfectly reasonable response to absolutely anything that's going on when you're playing Dungeons and Dragons.
Right. That's fair.
Okay.
That is fair.
I the thing is, a lot of people don't agree with me. They're like, that doesn't happen in character. I sometimes make my players pick things that NPCs are doing based off them being players, but I just find it to be much more interesting. Players and characters are invested with what's going on. I can keep both of you entertained. That's not a problem.
That's true. That's true. Listen, I will always equate playing on a tabletop game as being a performer, because you are performing. You're playing. It's playing all around, right?
Mm-hmm.
You, in order to be a successful performer, in order to be what's the word that I'm trying to find? In order to be credible, you need to suspend your own disbelief and basically say yes, and basically allow what is happening, the circumstances, the oh my goodness, I keep forgetting the word, the imaginary circumstances color the reality of your character.
Yes.
So I mean, by all means, you are pretending, you're playing pretend, but your character is still very much real, and you would be doing your character a disservice by not living truthfully in the moment. So yeah, keep everybody entertained. Oh, yep, my image got stuck. Hello, I'm back.
It's I think it's important to and this is where it comes into, not every DM is for every player, because I know some people are like, this is suspending my disbelief, and I'm like, okay, well, believe harder, I guess. I'm that type of DM that will cater to people who are aware they're playing a game and really get into it, but also can break that disbelief while they do bigger plannings in this game. But that's just me personally.
I hear you. All right, what's the next class?
I'm sorry. Number 4 is cleric. Oh, sorry, number 5. Number 5 is cleric, and the reason clerics are so strong, and first of all, they're your healers. They're the main source of healing within the game. Anyone who's giving you life back goes up. Also, they do a ton of damage with their spells. If you actually do like a damage wielding cleric, also they can wear heavy armor, which is the best defense wise type of armor. So they can also soak up. They can be frontline fighters. You can spec a cleric for frontline or casters in the back. Depends on what you want. They're very versatile. Yeah. And
that actually surprises me, because I have had this conception this entire time that clerics are basically, no disrespect to anybody, but they're basically staff chicks. Like, that's kind of like the concept that I've been having forever. Like, oh, why would I play a cleric? Why would I put myself in a disadvantage where I know that I am not, as a player, I am a pretty green player, so I don't want to put myself in a position where I could potentially get killed easier. So now that you're saying this, I'm over here thinking, like, are you freaking serious? I legit thought, okay, maybe now that you said that they can deal a lot of damage with their attacks, I'm like, all right, maybe they have, their divine intervention person can imbue their attack with strength, but they themselves physically weak. That's the perception I've been having.
They themselves aren't just like, they're not going to be your main soaky tank at any cost, but they're going to be a good enough tank in that to hit them. If you have your full heavy armor set on, it's going to be 18, 19, 20 on the die, which not every monster or every enemy is going to be rolling every so they're going to take up some of those attacks just by the armor that they're allowed to wear without taking any sort of disadvantage. And then the other thing that's really key to what you said is they do a lot of damage, but at the cost of spell slots. So you need to figure out, are you going to cast serious wounds, or are you going to cast that cure
the party?
Well, yeah, like if you're doing damage, you're not healing. So the cleric is one of those where you have to really think about your actions, think of what you can do to then also understand what's going on in the battle, because then if you need to heal people and you're doing damage, everyone is going to die.
So like a cleric has a delicious cake, and the cleric has to decide whether you keep the cake or you eat the cake.
Correct.
They cannot have it both ways.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
That's correct.
Okay.
So that's why, because you can spec it out to your taste, it is one of the it's ranked number 5, because not every class allows you to do that.
That's fair. It's very versatile, and I appreciate that. I 1,000% thought that they were basically just nuns, just in the back praying for you.
That's praying
for your healing.
That's a preconception that carries over from previous D&D games. I don't remember immediately because I'm trying to forget what I knew. I'm actively trying to not think about the things that were 3.5 or 2, because I get a lot of mixed up. Like just today I was playing and there was a crouching enemy. He was knocked prone and someone was shooting from afar. And I'm like, oh, because you're shooting from afar, you get advantage. But I was wrong. A player was like, no, he's at disadvantage because he's crouched, so it's harder to hit him. And I was like, yes, right. And I know that rule, but I have so many rules that like linger in my brain that
being a DM is not easy. You got to remember a lot of stuff. And with D&D, with all the changes that have happened, like if you started way before all of the changes that have been coming through the grapevine. So
shout out to the players, to the Charlies and the Javis and the Robs and the Lukes who memorized the book and are kind enough to be like, the DM's already doing a lot. I'm going to help knowing by some of the rules. Not be rules lawyer, but to be polite, like, does this work that way, DM? And you're like, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, thank you.
That's fair. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, players. I am not that player. Thank you to all of the players who do that.
It
all right.
Works. So coming out number 4 is the Paladin. The Paladin is just overall, he attacks, he hits hard, he defends hard, he gives you boosts to your saving throws. He they can cast protection from evil, protection from good. Like they can do so many things that they are very locked in that top 5 place. Like a Paladin, if played correctly, is just gonna take your damage, do the damage, heal you, take care of your goats, cook you dinner, give you a kiss on your forehead when you're sad. It's just it's a full package.
A Paladin is gonna get you wifed up. Correct. Is what you're saying.
Like he's gonna be like, I'm gonna take care of you, BB, and you're gonna be like, thank you.
Thank you, Daddy.
Yeah, Sadie. It's very that. And they're just so good that I'm doing a disservice by not describing.
I just felt a little by a fictitious Paladin I have never met in my life.
But he'll come and he'll be like, do you need some cake? And then you'll be like, yes. And then he'll be like, here's some healing. And you'll be like, I didn't even know I was injured.
Love it. You were saying, I interrupted. I'm sorry.
I'm doing a disservice by not rounding out more of what they can do, because it really depends on a lot of the subclasses, their abilities by subclass. But one of the biggest and the bestest abilities in D&D 5 is their radiant damage bonus, which is you do your full damage,
and then
you call in for like extra damage. You roll like 3d8, it's or 5d8, or like it depends on what level you are, of additional damage, and you can do it depending on the amount of times, and it recharges every rest. It's when paladins say I am done with this fight, they really mean I am done with this fight.
Oh boy. Love it.
Love
They're
paladins.
like, and we're done here. It's like when a mom comes in, like, se acabó, we are done here. You go home, you go to your room. It's like,
pack your shit. Very done.
All right, love it.
And
now,
coming in at number 3, and the reason it's a little bit better, while a paladin can buff you for saves, a bard can buff you in general. They have access to spells. They're really good. They used to be a joke class, and now they're like,
they were.
You need a buff. Yeah, like you need a buff, have a buff. You need an inspiration die, which basically you roll your d20, and then you can roll another die depending on their level to add to that d20 to see if you hit or if you pass your ability check. Bards let you succeed at things. Have a bard, play a bard. They also, if you have a party that is not completely made up of tanks and this and that, bards are great fillers to create balance within the party. They're just they're a good class. Like, if you're gonna do your homework, play bard, because it does require a little bit of reading in regards to learning your spells and the abilities, because they have jack of all trades. They do a little bit of everything.
I'm sold on bards. I have been considering playing a bard for the longest of time, and every single time that I say that I want to play Dungeons and Dragons, because of who I am in real life, I am immediately suggested to play a bard, and I'm like, yes, let's go. And for the longest time, I thought just what you said, that it was kind of like a jokey joke, because they were, like, oh, you're a little bard with your little lute and whatnot. Nah, sir. No, ma'am. No, people. We are a complete package.
Yes, they are. Very much so. And that brings us to our number 2 place, which is the druid. The fun fact about druids, originally in Dungeons and Dragons 1 and 2, there could only be 3 druids above level 16 in whichever world you were playing. And if you ever wanted to go up to level 16, you had to go find one of those druids and kill them. But that's not what we're talking about today. Druids themselves are just, because of their shape change, because of their spells, because of their magic in general, and being able to turn into animals, which lets you have a lot of versatility in what you're doing, they're just great. In general, druids, whenever you play a druid, you're gonna have a good time. And they give you extra life, meaning, like, let's say you shapeshift into a bear, and that gives you 75 life. Once you lose that 75, all that happens is you revert back to your normal self.
Did you see that TikTok I sent you about the cat that is now an official party member of this?
Yes.
This cat rolls for initiative, and he's just like, he is now a member of this one particular party, and they just decided that this little kitty is a druid that is forever in his not beast form, but animal form. Therefore he can't speak common, and the cat's just like, I love it. It's my favorite.
I have a player whose next character, she wants to play druid whose regular form is a bear, and she wild shapes to look like a human.
No, I love this.
So it's like the opposite, and I'm like,
I love this.
Yes. It's just really creative and very fun. And just a little caveat, like a little notice about druids in general, is if you're gonna play a druid and you really want to do it for the power to, like, really go ahead and pick the subclass druid, Circle of the Moon. Sorry, the Circle of the Moon, a specific type of druid, just gives it a lot of options, and it just research that one. If your goal is to be strong and be OP, that's the druid, and that is the subclass that puts us at number 2.
All right, and we are on a tight schedule here, so let's go with number 1 real quick.
Number 1, and the last one remaining, is, and you guessed it, you mentioned it earlier, it's the wizard. There is just no comparing the amount of power and damage. I a wizard can do. Fireball is like a level, you get access to it at level 4, if I'm not mistaken. It's a level 3 spell, but I think you get it at level 4, and it just does 68 damage. No, 86 damage. Got the dyslexia. And it's just like, and you don't even have to roll to hit. You roll the enemies roll to try to dodge. It's just like
we all remember that one video. We all remember that one LARPing video of the guy going fireball, 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 and we all think that that's a joke. We all see it as a joke. He was doing the God's work. He was killing everybody, and we were laughing at this man. Just saying.
It's just that, and besides being this giant damage dealer, you are also
physically strong or no?
No, you're not physically strong. That's the one thing that, but you're so strong damage wise, and then you get wish at the end, which is like, I wish for potatoes to be in my hand, and you get potatoes. Like it's the be all end all spell.
I wish.
Like it's called wish, and it's
all right.
You also have other spells called like Finger of Death that I point at you and you die. Like wizards get stupid strong. Like
no, what?
We love
it. Yay! Okay, I'm over here like, oh no. All right,
that is the list.
Well, that is quite a list, and I am sure that we're gonna delve into these again at some point because there is so much that we didn't get to cover because of our very limited time. So I am excited to keep on exploring these classes individually because I am sure that there's a lot that can be said about them.
And then we'll talk a little bit about the subclasses too.
Absolutely. Shall we play a game?
We can certainly try to play a game. Cristina,
we can try.
An image. I've sent you an image
describe
of
it.
a creature that has aqua type skin, a sword bigger than its torso. He has more muscle than fat, and he's bald. His eyes are gleaming white, and he has two wings. What am I? Angel is close enough. It is a planeteer. A planeteer is just like an angel.
Captain Planet?
No, but maybe. Yeah, like they're angels. Sure. Basically, they're angels, but they're called planeteers. That's our fair. Very quick run of. Is that what is that?
And we're about to run out of time, so check out our YouTube, Owlbear Pod, and you'll see all of the socials there. Follow us on all of the socials. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you guys, and we will see you next week, hopefully. Bye.
Bye, Sarah. Bye.
Bye.